Hey all, and welcome back to When the Night Comes. I'm Agent of Mischief. Let's jump on in, shall we? Ezra fills the kettle, placing it upon the stove and stepping towards me as he begins to whistle quietly. So, I assume Gus will be with you when you meet with Harry? If so, I imagine you and them will be more than capable of handling anything he tries to throw at you. And I've been meaning to ask if you don't mind, of course. He stares me down with those wide-wise eyes. How are you going to approach him exactly? I mean, you've had time to process all of this. A little, anyway. I bite my lip, almost wanting to hold back the rage I feel broiling and bubbling in my chest. Things Harry has done, the things the Enforcers have done. Centuries of pain and suffering, tearing children away from their families and turning them into monsters. I'll put a stop to this. Finish it, once and for all. He reaches for me across the table, taking his hand in his own and holding it tight.
You'll be careful, won't you? Promise me that.
I study him for a long minute, wanting to respond immediately and with conviction, but I'm unsure of what I might come to face. I'll do my best. We sit in silence for a little while, only to have it broken by a quiet tap, tap, tap. That wasn't that quiet. I look around, then down, realizing it's coming from underneath the floor. Ah, of course. Finnegan. Ezra and I share a smile, and my heart leaps in my chest at the thought of seeing Fen. We both stand, and Ezra reaches to unlatch the locks that keeps the opening of the catacombs locked while I pull back the rug that covers it. When golden eyes appear in the darkness, I feel a chill roll down my spine. Good evening. He turns to me, taking my hand and pressing a kiss to my knuckles.
I came as soon as I sensed you were here.
But Raven is on their way to see August. Finn crinkles his nose at that, apparently unimpressed.
I was hoping I could steal you away for a little while, actually. Not for anything nefarious. Fierro simply longs to speak to you.
Oh? Oh. Does he have more information? He shrugs.
I'm not sure. He's not exactly a man of many words. If he's asked for you, then I'd take it that he has at least something to tell you.
He definitely isn't just wanting a friendly chat, that's for sure.
I see. Well, considering I'm still avoiding going to see August, we could go now. I'd be more than happy to escort you. Be good. Oh, we won't. And Finn takes my hand, tugging me down towards him and pressing a cool kiss to my temple.
Come then, love. Into the hole you go.
That's so weird out of context. Ezra and I both look at him with blank expressions, and he merely rolls his eyes, sighs, and ushers me onwards. We say goodbye to Ezra, watching as we descend down into the depths of the catacomb tunnels. He curls his big hands around my waist to help me down, and I brace myself with my palms against his chest. He looks at me with a wicked grin, and I can't help the way my body sits alight at the contact, coiled, breathless anticipation sinking deep into my bones. Easy does it. I hate the way my whole body betrays me, because of course he knows, can feel the way I come alive for him. Smug. With a scoff, I playfully push him, and he stumbles away dramatically, clutching his chest.
Your words sting, dear hunter. Now, follow me.
A shadowy figure waits for us outside of Finn's quarters, and I smile when I see a shock of white hair and friendly crimson eyes. Hunter Adams, it's a pleasure to see you again. It's good to see you too, under better circumstances this time. If I look hard enough, I can swear I can hear his mouth twitch. Fierro studies me with a certain intensity for a moment, and I feel a strange sense of calm washing over me, but he frowns, a blink and you'll miss it thing, but I see it before his face falls into that carefully calculated stoicism. I will not keep you long. I just want to thank you for finding me. I owe you a debt of gratitude for assisting with my extraction. I gather you'll be meeting with the Lieutenant General soon? I swallow thickly, my throat tight all of a sudden. There it is again, the uncertainty, that push and pull of conflicting emotions that swirl in my gut and almost suffocates me. I nod a little too quickly, and though Fierro doesn't show it, I know he can feel my unease. I will be, yes, when he decides to show his face. Finn scoffs at that, leaning against a jagged stone wall with a perfect kind of handsome nonchalance that not many could achieve.
If he ever decides to again. If I was him, I'd have left town the second the first body turned cold.
Fiyero continues to watch me, his stare unwavering. Well, the sooner the better. I'd quite like all of this to be over. Indeed. Finn nudges him with his elbow, and Fiyero barely shifts, holding himself like some ancient statue, in almost unnerving stillness. Unnerving stilliness, now that would be great. Told them what you saw in the dungeon before you were rescued. There was a lot of commotion down there the night you killed the creature. They were unorganized, clearly distressed. I watched carefully, and I saw something strange. A hunter, or what was once a hunter. Now I'm not so sure. I paled at the thought, remembering the way the creature looked at me as it lunged, teeth bared, and the way that my body told me I was fighting one of my own before I ended its life. His life. It was female, of that much I am certain. She was wailing all night after they shoved her back into one of the cells. They must have been in a rush because they weren't as cautious in hiding her as they'd been before. She's more whole than the other one, but whatever they've done to her, she's too far gone, driven mad. Feral, even. I've never felt anything quite like it. An impossible flurry of pain and confusion, but mostly anger. No. Finn steps forward, seeing the way my eyes widen and my hands begin to shake. I can't face another. Raven. I look at Finn, noting his concern over the way my heart lurches in my chest. I nod at him, exhaling a sharp breath to refocus. You're sure? Quiet Vampire nods, his lips pursed into something that looks like an attempt at a grimace. I am certain, and I am also sorry. It's fine, it's expected actually, just hurts to hear, to have it confirmed. I nod. We will not let you face it alone. You will never be alone. Fiyero shares a look with Finn before nodding his agreement. I will leave you now. Thank you, Fiyero. He offers a stiff bow as Finn pushes open the door to his quarters, making a beeline for the carafe of scotch upon his desk. I smile at him fondly from outside the room, registering how relaxed he's become around me, at how at home I feel here with his clan. Cold but gentle hand rests upon my arm, and I meet Fiyero's stoic scarlet gaze. He speaks quietly, but his words hit me hard enough to knock the breath from my lungs. I know his heart may no longer beat, but it is no less capable of breaking. Open my mouth to respond, but words fail me. With a final look, Fiyero disappears into the darkness. Whatever he sensed in me, the thought that I could hurt Finn cuts me to the core, and I gather my thoughts before I turn and head to join him. I closed the door to Finn's quarters behind me, taking stock of the crumpled sheets upon his bed, remembering their warmth and finding it strangely endearing that Finn hasn't bothered to tidy them since I reluctantly dragged myself from them this morning. He appears clutching two glasses filled with his favorite poison and huffs a quiet laugh, shaking his head at me.
Why make the bed when it's surely just going to get messy again,
I scoff, fighting my bottom lip to stifle a slight grin that threatens to curl. I'm still getting used to that new awareness of him, alone with thrumming and constant in the back of my mind. When he smiles, I fall apart, and he lumps his fangs, coaxing a memory of the dull ache, the sight of him with my blood upon his tongue. Raven. I clear my throat, noticing how dark his eyes have gone, black rimmed with gold. Yes? He takes a sip of his drink, his tongue brushing over his lips to chase the taste.
I am not hungry, but I can be if you wish.
I place my hand over my throat, over where he marked me, and he laughs, a low and satisfying rumble. Come, sit with me. Would you like one? Looks like you could use it. I pry the crystal tumbler from his grip, nodding my thanks as I bring it to my lips. It's delicious, refreshing, and has just the right amount of burn as it slides on my throat that I almost forget my troubles for a blissful moment. Thank you. He raises his glass towards me before he takes a sip of his own, humming his approval. I miss being drunk, you know. Just the peace it used to bring me, which wasn't necessarily a good thing, but oh did I have my fun. His laugh is wistful, and I wonder how long vampire lives before they begin to forget their human days. I daren't ask him, for I don't want to sour the mood, but one day, maybe. Surely there are ways for you to become inebriated, even if it's not quite the same. Finn shrugs. Sure there is. There are many ways, actually, but the buzz wears off before you can really even enjoy it. Besides, there are other ways to find pleasure. And somehow I'm sure you've explored them all. I left the way he waggles his brows, his pointy ears twitching alongside them. As he watches me, his smile fades, his dark brows drawn together. He sets the glass aside and moves his stand in front of me, reaching for my hands with his own. His fingers close around mine. It's like an anxiety I wasn't even aware of has been sated. The world almost doesn't feel right unless I'm touching him anymore. The press of his body as he tugs me close is the best kind of medicine to combat every jumbled thought that crosses my worried mind. He presses his iron palm to my face, and it almost feels like he's staring deep into my soul.
Something plagues you.
I can feel the wonderful shift and bunch of muscles beneath soft fabric, and when I ignore his question and instead bury my face into the crook of his neck, he smells like a dying summer. Funny considering he hasn't seen the sun in centuries, but it's a warm scent even though he himself is very cold. I'll be fine. Finn huffs, there are my temples rustling in the gentle gust of breath. He brushes his lips over the shell of my ear and murmurs low and deep.
The beat of your heart betrays you, Hunter.
He drops his hands to my hips, gently pushing me away. I know he could listen if he wanted to, could just let himself hear what I'm thinking, the thoughts that drown me. But he doesn't, instead letting me decide if I'd like to share my woes. I think about Fierre's words to me as he slipped to the darkness. I'd give anything not to hurt Finn, but I have to do what I feel is right. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't just affect me, it affects everyone. There's so much riding on me, the decisions I make. I never expected to carry such a burden coming in here.
You shouldn't have to. It isn't fair, what you've had to endure. But you were the strongest and most capable hunter I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. And I have known many in my time.
He smiles, tilting his head.
I wouldn't want anyone else deciding my fate but you. Lunaris is lucky to have you on its side. But I am the luckiest man to be able to call you mine.
Mine. Hearing that word, that confirmation, even though I already know he's mine as I am his, it derails my thoughts in an instant. There's an ache in my chest that unfurls for him like a flower at the first thought of rain, and I lean in to brush my lips against his. He gets to me with the ferocity I feel right down to the tips of my toes, as if every press of his mouth against mine would further solidify his love for me. Finnegan groans and swipes his tongue deep into my mouth before I tease him, nearly breaking the kiss, but letting Finn chase me back into it with a low growl. It tastes like whiskey, rich and warm, and I could get drunk off of that alone. The need I feel is a living thing nestled deep in my bones, and when Finn surges closer, I wonder if it really is possible to go mad from wanting someone this much. Dramatic maybe, but I'll be damned if I care, because if temptation were a living thing, its name would be Finnegan Casimir. Raven. Finn murmurs softly against the slick tangle of our kiss, sweeping his hands down my sides. The slick tangle of our kiss is kind of a gross line.
Stay with me.
If I could. I can't. I have to make a choice. I have to meet with August. Finn pulls away with a sorry whimper, a sad look in his impossibly pretty eyes.
Very well. But you'll come back.
I'll come back. Finn carefully snags my chin and lifts my face back towards his, bringing our mouths together in approval, the kiss shattering in its gentle intensity. He drops his gaze to his lap, his brow twitching into a frown. Now tell me, what do you intend to say to dear Harold when you finally face him? His eyes search my face as if looking for answers I don't know how to give or don't want to give. I ponder my response because, truly, my thoughts are still jumbled, anxiety mounting. One thing I know for sure is that what Harry has done, is wrong. I'll confront him and expect straight answers. I want to know why he did it.
I just ask that you're careful. No sound-minded man would make the decisions that he has. Of that much I'm sure. You don't know how he'll react to being confronted.
He's right, and somehow that thought hasn't crossed my mind. But Harry cares for August deeply, and they will be by my side. I'm not sure Harry would want to bring harm to August or even myself. Finn looks at me like I've gone mad.
He's directly responsible for the death of his husband. You and August are just collateral damage at this point. He killed Levi, and that seemed like an impossible feat to me for a very long time. Centuries, even. He's strong.
He had James to help him, didn't he? Finn scoffs, and I can tell his frustration is mounting.
You've seen his face and that pretty scar? He fought Leviathan Casimir, and he lives to tell the tale. And my sire? He's Ash. I spent centuries terrified of him, watching him terrorize whole countries, just for fun.
I stare at him, at the strange way he vibrates. Is it fear, maybe? Something long ingrained in him after that hell his sire put him through, that the mere thought of the man has shaken him like this?
Harold Addington put him down in one night with the same ease in which he puts his boots on in the morning. You will not take this lightly. You will be careful. I'll be damned if I'm going to lose you after all of this.
I smile, swallowing the lump that forms my throat as I try to reassure the vampire that sits before me, wounded by the thought of losing me. He's lost so much, so many people he's loved as he has loved me. I cannot even begin to fathom the pain he's endured in his long, long life. He loves fiercely without hesitation, and maybe that is a worse curse than his immortality. I love you, and I promise I'll do my best to stay alive. He rolls his eyes, slips us in a grim line, but twitching traitorously.
You'd better. I'll be terribly lonely again.
In an attempt to lighten the mood, you know, Raven was right about you. You are very mopey. His eyes widen almost comically, but when he sees my smile, he relaxes.
I could bite you, you know?
I tap my neck. Yes, I'm aware. I remember it quite fondly, actually. He growls, still pounding, and it's adorable and not all as frightening as I'm sure he hoped it would be. I suppose I should go then. I don't exactly sound convincing. In fact, I think I'd be quite happy to stay down here and hide away from my responsibilities for a little longer. But I must be responsible, unfortunately. Finn shifts to stand, running a hand through his hair, rubbing at his chin. He's twitchy tonight, showing more signs of humanity than I'm used to from him.
I know I said it already, but be careful.
I smile at him, reaching for the handle of the door. I fought much bigger, much scarier things than Harold Addington. As the words leave my mouth, I feel a terrible dread washing over me, and Finn notices.
Never underestimate your foe, especially when they have nothing to lose.
I love you. I love you too, Finn. Farewell, Hunter. I find August in their office, staring at their desk. It's rife with papers strewn in different stacks, but without its usual method. They look worse than usual, look despondent, almost as if they've given up being prompt and orderly, but I know that's not the case. August is adept at keeping the flow of reports moving quickly, a stickler for punctuality. I tap the door once with my knuckles, and they grant me permission to enter with a lazy nod of their head.
Days like today make me wonder if I should just pack all of this in and run home to my parents with my tail between my legs. Or maybe become a nomad or something.
I know that's not true, but the defeat in their tone makes me think they've been like this for some time. I don't think the nomad lifestyle is quite for you, August. They have a laugh, sighing heavily, uncharacteristically slumped in their chair.
One day, hopefully soon, we'll be free from the shackles of all this corruption. I'll bring order to Lunaris. Or I guess I'll at least die trying. I've never been very good at quitting.
I poke at the seemingly never-ending pile of parchments and take a seat before them, pointedly ignoring their macabre declaration. What is all of this anyway? There seems to be more than usual. August shrugs, waving their hand dismissively over the mess.
Take your pick. Reports, complaints, and all of the petty bureaucratic bullshit that Harry usually deals with.
I so graciously offered to take some of his work off his hands when James passed. Their lips curl into a snarl, their teeth bared, and the next words are almost venomous, distinctly lacking emotion. Aren't I kind? They're tired, frustrated, overworked, and apparently overcome with bitterness. In one way, I'm grateful. Seeing them upset and so downtrodden over Harry, I hated it, but this mood doesn't suit them. I truly long for a day when I see them well rested and appreciated. I just want to know you're going to be okay. You're working yourself to the bone. Another dismissive wave of their hand. I gather I'm not going to get more than that out of them. Much more out of that than them. Blah. I will be fine, Raven. I have to be, don't I? I watch as they pinch the bridge of their nose, their weak argument not all that convincing. A quiet knock on the door grabs our attention, and Tim and Junior pokes their head around the frame, awkwardly raising their hand at August. General Willenheim? They raise their brow at him, their impatience clear. What? You asked me to let you know when the Lieutenant General returned. Well, he's in his office. I just saw him. Thank you, recruit. You can go now and do not tell anyone what I asked of you. I see the heavy bob of their throat and the flush that paints her cheek as August quickly moves to stand, and with a nod, the voice scurries away. August and I share a look, and I wonder if they're thinking the same as me, that we're not ready. Or that we don't want this, scared of what we'll learn, and that it'll become real all at long last. August places a trembling hand upon my arm. Her eyes wide and bright. And when they speak, there's a sort of manic edge to their words, their voice.
I need to know how you feel about all of this before... I need to know because I cannot make up my mind.
They tighten their grip on me, and for the first time since I've known them, August Willenheim looks scared. I feel something thick in the air, a kinetic shift, an almost suffocating buzz. August, breathe. They exhale sharply, and their aura is distinctly panicked. I twist my hand over theirs and feel shocked as our skin meets, but my touch calms them enough for the air to clear, so I relent and don't pull away. It's okay. It's going to be okay. No, it's not. It's not. They shake me off, pacing, angry tears trailing their cheeks.
Everything I worked for, everything I've ever stood for. I saw him as my mentor, a man who raised me with a kindness my father would never even dream of showing me.
Was I so blinded by that affection that I didn't see the evil in him? I shake my head, knowing August is not a bad judge of character. Harry is just good at manipulating, or spectacularly talented in dissociation. You weren't to know August, none of us knew, or could possibly dream it might be him. They scoff, rolling their eyes.
I followed him about with doe eyes, lapping up any scraps of approval he dared to lavish me with. I've always been desperate to be acknowledged and told I'm doing a good job. He gave that to me in abundance.
I don't believe he realizes that what he's doing is wrong, but that doesn't excuse it, and nor does it make you complicit. August laughs at that, a maniacal sound.
No one evil ever sees themselves as so. I've encountered it enough to know that much.
We stand in silence for what feels like forever, both of us gathering our thoughts, our courage. This isn't going to be easy, or even marginally fun, but... Shall we... Before I get the chance to finish my sentence, I hear the ultra-familiar heavy thud of boots in the corridor. And then Lieutenant General Harold Addington appears in the doorway, a smile upon his face.
Good evening, both.
Unconsciously, I find myself tensing, bracing for what's about to come. If only this man was a hunter, someone I could read past the look on his face and basic human cues. If Harry is an evil man, he's adept at hiding it. His smile is kind even now, and I wonder if he has any idea what situation he's walking himself into. Sir? Harry nods at me, his eyes flicking to August, who is visibly distressed and poorly attempting to hide it. I look at them, offering them a clipped smile, knowing it might help them keep it together. Lest we both fall apart. Harry, it's good to see you looking well. Their words are forced. Harry doesn't appear to be planning on staying long, his gauntlet, longsword, and coat remaining in place. Instead, he eyes us both as he crosses the room, stopping in front of the fireplace that flickers invitingly.
I have to apologize for my absence. As I'm sure you can imagine, I haven't exactly been in the right frame of mind to hold the whole country on my shoulders, let alone Lunaris.
I'm sure it's been very difficult for you.
They're struggling and mostly failing to keep the exasperation out of their voice. At this point, I wonder if it's just easier to tear the bandage off the wound, expose the rotting flesh, let August truly cast a storm upon this building. I step forward and August stands quickly, their chair scraping along the marble floor.
Is something wrong, Augustus? You don't look well.
Yes, I want to say. They are falling apart, much like your town, your country. I quickly wade through the dark tangle of emotions that threatens to engulf me, and I clear my throat. We need to talk to you. Harry nods, still poised, still apparently completely clueless. I look to August, and they are in no state to initiate this conversation. Their hands are shaking, and I gather that we're just seconds away from a messy display of untamed magic. Raven? Harry quickly looks between us, finally focusing upon me when he sees that August is his lost cause.
Speak. Now. You're beginning to alarm me.
We're aware of what you've been doing, of what you've done. The dead hunters, the missing hunters. He blanches his skin going pale, but he's no fool, and Harry shifts from someone who's been caught with blood upon their hands to someone painfully in denial in a split second.
I don't know what you're talking about. I ordered you to Lunaris to solve this mess, and you stand here and accuse me.
August scoffs loudly.
And you will stand here and lie to us so easily.
What evidence do you have of the supposed indiscretion you accuse me of?
He says it quickly, defensively, but the words are heavy upon his own tongue. Then I use the most powerful weapon I possess. James. Harry freezes, truly turning pale now. All colors raining from his ruddy cheeks, his eyes wide with shock and pain. in fear at the utterance of his husband's name. I swear that if I listen closely enough, I can hear the furious pounding of his heartbeat as it tries to tear free from his chest. He swallows thickly then. He laughs. Though it's a manic sound, the laugh of a desperate man. You spoke with him again? For the briefest moment, I feel sorry for him, the way he looks at me almost longingly, desperate for even a scrap of information on his dearly departed. It seems selfish that I be the one James would choose to communicate with, but he was a good man through and through, and he could see Harry's madness, knew the right thing to do. He wanted me to tell you that he loves you.
Even after everything you've done.
I look at August and they're still seething, their jaw tightly clenched, hands balls into fists at their side. They suck in a breath and drop their gaze from Harry as they feel too much shame in looking at him. There's a flash of hope in Harry's eyes, almost as if he's resigned himself to the fact that his beloved had disowned him in death. That James was too kind to forgive him for what he's done. He stops himself and there's a shift in the way he stands, the way he holds himself.
It doesn't matter. I have to see this through. I'm so close.
You disappoint me.
August's words are venomous, biting.
Tell us what it is. The blood? The elixir they gave to them when they're merely children.
Harry directs trembling fingers over his face, and in that gesture he could easily be that 20-something enforcer that I saw in my dreams. He looks lost. He closes his eyes, and when he next speaks, I can hear a lifetime's worth of pain in his voice.
Of course it was. Is. What else could it possibly be? It's always blood, isn't it?
Oh, God.
I am sorry I've hurt you, Augustus. I thought you might understand.
August bristles at that, and I sense a seismic shift in the way they hold themselves. They angrily swipe the silent tears that streak their face, and magic swirls about their fingers in messy undulations.
I thought you a friend. A father, even. You've killed people. Our people. We swore to protect them as they swore to protect mankind. We're responsible for them. They put their lives in our hands and trust that we will not put them in danger.
I take a step closer, placing myself in front of them, between them.
We take them from their families when they're children and raise them to believe we're giving them the chance to save the world. And all we gave them was a curse. You took advantage of their trust in you. And you sentenced them to die the second you placed that vial in their hands and told them to drink.
Fuck him up, August. Harry watches him with an almost deluded level of disbelief, as if he couldn't possibly imagine August defying him in such a way.
And what of mankind? They'll overrun us one day, sooner than you think.
I place my hand upon August's arm, tugging gently at them as they move a step forward towards him. But August shakes me off.
I'd rather mankind die an honest death instead of turning into fucking monsters.
They shove a finger in Harry's direction, their cheeks pink with anger.
You are wrong.
Their voices rasp of itself, a lost, almost childlike pain threading through their words, harsh enough that Harry flinches. Though his expression is startlingly cold.
August, do you not see? I wanted us to be on even footing. I came to realize how unfair it is that they hold such an advantage over us. They can do things we could never dream of, and we have these hunters just at our disposal. The untapped potential that lies within them is beyond anything that we can imagine.
Then he turns his gaze to me and he smiles.
Do you realize what this could mean for you? How much more you could be?
Then he makes an almost arrogant, greedy noise. In that moment, I see the Harry I thought I knew, that August thought they knew, turn to ash. Placed by a man driven mad by frustration and now grief.
Instead of asking, am I ready to take on our enemies, you would think, there is no stopping me.
Deplorable, unforgivable. When the initial rush of commingled horror and fury wanes, I clear my throat and address Harry with as much confidence as I can muster. Tell us what you did to them, how you did this, so we know how to undo you. Harry praises me, clearly not impressed with the tone in which I give him, but he considers me regardless.
You're curious to know how I made them better? How I can help to even the odds?
I am. Tell me how you made me better. Try to feign interest, hoping to appear to Harry. Ouch. Blah. I try to feign interest, hoping to appeal to Harry's arrogance. He might have been driven to desperation, but I can see his tells. He's proud of his idea. He hums a sound of approval and begins.
A hunter is just a vessel, well-trained and disciplined, not always worldly, but refined to kill. We have provided you with nothing but the best tools to take on your target. Even the most meager of whelps are turned into seasoned soldiers. Resilient individuals, remarkable results. However,
He sighs, disappointed.
remarkably uninspiring.
Disgust blows up in my throat as his callous comment. Remarkably uninspiring, you say? Sorry. The anger I feel is matched in kind with August. Their aura is palpable, the air brimming with electricity. August is no hunter, but they were raised to be the best, conditioned to be nothing but the best. It was practically written at their birth.
I know it's upsetting, but please know I'm not disappointed. We merely mean to uplift you with the initiation. It was crafted to prepare you and protect you. We do not go into the field without knowing the danger, and we all experience loss in some form or another.
His speech cracks for a mere second. I know of the loss he talks about, I've seen it. But is that enough? As quickly as it goes, his posture uprights again.
The elixir is a means to a promising end. It threads together the strengths of our foes without the consequences of their inherently evil nature. By imbibing this, it gives hunters the edge they need.
Harry continues, and he's enchanted with his own words. To be better than them is what he considers a passable means to change us. I wouldn't be surprised if he told us he was disappointed in our human design.
The drawbacks, or curse, as you would so inelegantly put it, is merely an unfortunate side effect of its blessing. Like all science, there is trial and error. I have seen the errors and made strides to correct them.
Just like the Chimera. I think Harry might be irritated with how plainly I lay out, out that I already know, but instead he nods, something like respect crossing his features. As your speculations have led you to believe, yes, the Chimera is such a result. And then his face drops at the name. Clearly you are perceptive of how much is still a question, but bear in mind that this is sacrifice to me too.
And why didn't you take it?
August finally finds their voice again, but it's hoarse, venom spilling from every word.
If the consequences were so great and you were so desperate, then why didn't you take it upon yourself? Speaking of sacrifices like you count them as your own, but you still used others for your own means.
Playing with creation by his whims and tossing aside the victims as unfortunate accidents. How are we expected to believe in your sacrifice when it barely comes across that you understand where we stand? You used us! Harry looks to the both of us, this time without remorse, and the scene playing out is unfamiliar. I don't remember Harry looking so scornful.
The sacrifices are my own. The blood is upon my hands, and it is a burden I am willing to carry if it means we can defeat them. I am expected to lead them, to guide them, make sure our path is set straight.
Fuck you. You can reduce yourselves to mere tools if you wish, but what I do is for the greater good.
I may not partake in all your battles, but that does not mean I don't lose myself in this war. Besides, I'm not worthy, am I? I'm no hunter, after all.
He turns back to me now and raises his chin, staring past his nose at me.
Tell me, hunter, provided you had the choice to find a way to protect the things and people that you love as I have, would you do it?
Would I? The question rattles around in my brain as to all the other words I've stood witness to. More quickly than I thought, my gut responds. Would I do everything to protect Finn? Absolutely. I would. There's a pause and Harry exhales. His eyelids flutter shut and he smiles with some relief. When he opens them, they are less harsh, more inquisitive to us, as though the three of us have had a trivial spat.
Then you understand why this must continue, and, most importantly, why I expect your full cooperation.
Fuck you, no thank you. The look August shoots me is sharp and credulous, their expression cracking open to reveal vulnerability I've never seen before. It's beautiful but frightening in its own way. As if I can hear them say no, don't. I hold their gaze, hoping that they can see what I'm doing, that they trust me. Please. They exhale sharply, their eyes frantically flicking between Harry and I, and then they nod. It's quick enough for Harry to miss because it's focused upon me and me alone. I'm the one he needs. I nod, but I do not utter the words because if I did, I'd be lying. Apparently it's enough to fool him because Harry smiles. Wow. That was a lot. Fuck. We'll have to get back to that later. I think I'm leaving the video here. If you've enjoyed the video, if you've enjoyed the series, if you're enjoying the game, what have you, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the like and subscribe buttons. Maybe leave a comment if you're feeling generous. And we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.